What up, y'all? This is Patrick Hayes, and in this video I want to talk about how to break through your blocks. So if you stick around to the end of the video, it's going to become very clear to you the most potent technique or tool, or really it's not even a tool or technique, it's a relaxing into yourself, the most potent thing you can do to break through your blocks. And you'll actually come to realize that breaking through your blocks is less breaking through a wall as much as it is a relaxing and slipping through the cracks. Because ultimately, what helps us become the people we want to be, or be more of ourselves, is a greater flexibility. It's a greater letting go, in a sense, right? And a willingness to express our true nature, regardless of our thoughts or beliefs or circumstances or whatever's going on in our life. To just fully let go and express that. See, most of us, all of us, are moving from point A to point B. And our life is a series of point A's to point B's. So we are where we are, and we're trying to do this thing, and there's so many different meta levels of that. But essentially, simply put, generally put, we want to have an amazing life, and we want to get from where we are to a more amazing life, right? Now, the tricky thing is that these point B's that we create to move towards, very oftentimes these point B's they're ideological constructs. They're ideas of what we want to be. So for instance, a child might want to be a lawyer, and they have this idea of like, okay, this is what it is to be a lawyer, and it would be really cool to be a lawyer, and they have all these good emotions when they think about becoming a lawyer. But the actuality of being a lawyer may or may not be completely different than how the child is thinking about being a lawyer. Now, when they're thinking about it, they may have all these positive emotions, but when they become a lawyer, the lifestyle might not be something they actually resonate with. They might not have those same positive emotions in the actual living of that role or that archetype. And a lot of people live lives like this. Oftentimes, people's only fuel or source for good emotions is to reflect back on themselves in a mental space and pump their ego up based off of the fact that they are this archetype. So I'm a lawyer, and that makes me powerful, and I'm badass. And like having those thoughts is where they build up their positive emotions. But the actual lifestyle of being a lawyer doesn't really fuel them. So the idea I'm trying to bring across here is that point B, instead of looking at point B as a kind of like idea destination or identity destination, right? Or like an idea of like the material things that you want. Instead of looking at a point B like that, look at the kind of emotions that you're feeling when you're thinking about that. And then also ask yourself, what ultimately are you looking for? Right? When you want to be this thing and you're thinking about becoming this thing or getting this thing, what actually do you want? And the answer is, you want happiness, you want an awesome life, you want to feel good, you want purpose, or even more generally, you want to experience love. You want to experience bliss. You want to experience unconditional love and bliss. And the funny thing is that if you ask any spiritual master, or if you've done, a good level of meditating yourself, that at your core, you're already that. You already are bliss. You already are unconditional love. So what are you actually trying to achieve here by getting all these exterior things or becoming these archetypes? See, and the number one thing that's blocking most people from breaking through is the fact that they've identified with different archetypes. They've identified with different identities. They've identified with different opinions that they feel they need to have their reality match or support in order for them to be happy. So what stops people is an unwillingness to be flexible, an unwillingness to just be and let that beingness be whatever it is. And this is kind of a lofty goal. I'm not claiming that like I've achieved this ultimate beingness and I can just be in the isness of presence everywhere that I go. But I've had experiences of being in these higher states, and a lifelong mission of mine and a lifelong practice of mine is being able to bring more and more of that isness, of that presence, into my everyday expression. Not so that I can just let go of all identities altogether and just like, be a emotionless, expressionless like being that just meditates all the time. But that I have enough of that essence, of that isness, of that true natural bliss and unconditional love that I truly am present, so that when I live my life and go through the ups and downs of emotions in the world and wins and losses and all the different things that happen in the world, that I have enough of that grace surrounding me that it guides my actions. That I don't become so fixed on this is what I need to become, or this is what I need to do, or I can't do this, or I'm too afraid to do that, or I have to do this. I don't get so stuck into that becomes like a life-threatening, like do or die kind of anxiety that forces me into my actions. But I have this grace that surrounds me and lets me know that ultimately it's okay. This awareness that when I'm going through emotional turmoil, that there's a part of me that can watch me go through that, and that part of me that can stay in that graceful space and hold space for me, so that in a sense, like my higher self is there to guide me through and to coach me, in a sense, to coach me through these difficult situations that we go through in life with a loving essence that is healing and nourishing to me. So I know this sounds pretty esoteric. So what do I actually mean as far as how to break through your blocks, or how to become more flexible so that you can slide through the cracks? Well, what I don't mean is that you become so flexible that you'll just do anything and anyone could get you to do anything because I'm just so flexible in the moment and I have no identity and I'm not a person, so yeah, I'll just go wherever the wind blows me. That's not what I mean. What I mean is remaining flexible to the expression of the essence. So the idea would be you would go and meditate and start to get a little bit of a taste for what this presence is, what this experience is. And there's a lot of different gurus, there's a lot of different sages that have spoken of this space, and there's people that have cultivated way more than I have, where you could watch some of their videos and really tune into the essence of that. But the idea is to get a taste for what this essence is, this presence that has a kind of perfume of unconditional love, of gratitude, of beauty, of bliss. Get a taste for what that is, and start to identify that there's a difference between these kinds of graceful feelings and emotions. Now, an emotion comes from our response to our own beliefs, opinions, and thoughts. So if we have a particular thought about something, or a belief about something rather, and that belief is that we like it or we dislike it, then when we experience that thing in our reality, we're going to have an emotional response that's in accordance with that, right? So very much our emotions are attached to our thoughts. What we think about something, we can have a completely different emotional response to that same thing if we think something different about it, right? Now, isness or beingness, while it operates in a similar way because we're feeling it, so in the sense that it's still a feeling, it's similar to emotions because it's a feeling, but it's on a different level. It's on a higher level. It's on a level that's beyond the mind. And this is why all the sages will teach you have to get out of your mind in order to feel it. But when you do get out of your mind, you realize that these essences are eternal essences. There's something that's always been there, and it's actually your truer nature, right? This essence of bliss and unconditional love is your truer nature, and it's always there. But we're in this gross reality of physical time space that has all these things going on that are really captivating. It pulls us into the drama of these things, and then we feel our emotions so much stronger than we feel the isness that it's almost like we've drowned it out. There's too much noise. We're not actually able to tune into that true essence. But when we quiet our minds, we are able to tune into that essence, then we have the experience of coming home. It's like, this is the true us. This is what we truly are. So the idea is to be able to make the discernment between the true essence and the emotion. and not disguise positive emotions as divine essence, realizing there's a difference. And this requires us to do meditative work and really come into this gracious, center point, no mind space. And then flexibility becomes being flexible to express this isness however it is called upon being expressed in the moment. And it becomes very much more graceful. You find yourself like in a grace. And I'm not in this space all the time by any means, but I've definitely had experiences where the grace has guided me. Most of you probably have had experiences like that too, where all of a sudden it's like you click through and you're in the moment and it's just graceful and the resistance is gone and you actually perform amazing. And it guides you in a direction where greater self-expression and greater alignment with what you truly are, and you could say want, but really what you truly are inside of you, and your reality harmonizes with that. And it's a beautiful experience. And being flexible to this grace could mean to be more persistent and keep hammering away at something and go at it. It could also mean to let something go. But until you can understand the difference between an emotion and the isness, it's really hard to tell what's driving you. Because you might think you're being driven by, the aspiration for isness, right? You might be driven by inspiration. But upon further reflection, you might realize that, well, the reason why you're so persistent doing this thing over and over is because you're afraid of not having it, or you're attached to having it. Or the reason why you might be saying, well, I need to just let go and not pursue this is because maybe you're afraid of approaching the challenge, right? So you're identifying with some sort of fear. You're identifying with some sort of limited perspective that is, making you give in to fear and move away from it. And you might tell yourself, well, I'm doing it because of isness. I'm letting the grace flow. So the idea is to really identify what this grace is and then let the grace truly guide you. And it really does. It guides your path. And your blocks, you dissolve and slip through the cracks because you're not stuck on any identity of this is who I need to be. I'm trying to be this archetype. I want to be the alpha male. I want to be the divine feminine. I want to be whatever it is, all these different ideas. And you try to be those things. And then anytime your reality shows you that you're expressing as something other than that, then you're in a fight with your identity. You're in a fight with yourself. Not that it's bad to experience emotions or have opinions or play into archetypes or identities. All these things are good, but the idea is to have enough awareness to know that you don't get lost in the role. So it's like a method actor. Method actors can sometimes get lost in the role and they'll spend months and months, and it's a really hard time for them to step out of that character because they got so lost in it. So the idea is not to stop playing roles, because we're here to play roles, but to be flexible enough to play any role that we're called upon to play in the moment. And what gives us that flexibility is having presence close to us. So having that isness there that's guiding us. So how do we make the discernment between that? And a great phrase that I like to use is actually two of them. One is beingness over identity. So anytime we're thinking about our future or we're deciding what we want to do or whatever's going on, remember, beingness comes first. Beingness over identity, over the idea of what we think we should be or what it should be. Tune into the beingness and let that beingness guide you. Don't let the idea of what you want to be, that's ego, guide you. But let the beingness that is deep inside of you that you were able to contact when you went into that meditative state, let that beingness guide you, right? So that's the first one, beingness over identity. And the second one is essence over outcome. It's essentially the same thing, just a different way of looking at it. Essence, the essence of your true nature. Essence over outcome, over the idea of what you think it needs to be, or over what you want, or how you want things to be, right? So make sure essence comes first. And you can let go of the outcome. You can still aim for things, but it's like you're letting the essence guide you. And so even if you don't get that thing, you realize that what's important is the essence. So you can still have that presence, that bliss feeling, that unconditional love. You can still have that regardless of whatever the outcome is, because that is what you are. So keep one foot tuned into that. Keep one foot in that water, right? You're tuned into it. So beingness over identity and essence over outcome. So thanks so much for tuning in today. That's all I have for you. If you have any other questions about this or you want me to go into more detail on some of these topics, let me know in the comments. If you found this video useful, please share it with somebody. I'd really appreciate it if you did that. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Patrick Hayes. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll talk to you next time. One love.